because it's best to start your episode right there, because then it will just play immediately rather than load from the main menu. And we are going to all press our play buttons at the same time. Are we ready to do that?
Yep, I'm ready.
Ready.
Great. All right,
Ready,
everyone.
ready.
So if you've been here before, you know how we do this. If you're new, grab your remote, have your thumb on that play button, but do not press it, because we are going to do that at the same time on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
I'm so happy I got up. I woke up at like 8:40 and was like, oh, let's go see if the room is open, not realizing it opens at 8.
I don't know, the flowers are very, very pretty, but it makes me want to.
Just looking at them.
I am highly allergic to everything floral.
It's very true. I love this episode though. It's one of my favorites.
I think there's a big faux pas in this whole episode.
I love Michelle and Sydney's cat fight over the flowers. It's great.
I resent all of that conversation about not bird watching.
I love bird watching.
Me too.
Yeah, my mom used to sit out on her back porch in Florida and watch all the birds. It was fun.
I always
My
Sorry,
mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is a big time bird watcher and came to visit my family early in my relationship with Babsy, came to visit my family in Florida, and we went into the Everglades, and she was just in heaven.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, my mom had wetlands right behind her house.
Audi 5000.
So it was great to go and just sit in the back and watch with her. It was a little book, binoculars. It was fun.
I wonder what it is about birds, why not like bug watching? I mean, like, is it because there's
to watch bugs?
They're probably
such a
not bug
variety
watching,
of
Once we
honestly.
living in the woods, we do both. If we see something that's really neat or interesting, because there's like so many things that you see, like we see a different kind of bug variety. Like every year there's something different that, I don't know, invades your house.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah,
what is this
I was
thing?
going to say, because
Suddenly crawling across
the bird watching thing is it's based on variety, because there's so many different types of birds that look so differently, but that's sort of the same with bugs.
Yeah, I grew up out in the middle of nowhere. We had new bugs every time you open the door. That's
I like
bug
this.
watching.
This is funny.
I love this scene.
Anybody else look at Logan sometimes and for a split second you think it's Zach?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Hair is
Nope.
better.
Can't say that I have.
I
Matt
get
looks
it
better.
though. They have a similar face shape and hair.
Yeah, but no.
I wouldn't say hair.
Well, like hair color, rather.
Yeah,
I
but
think
like,
that's what I'm trying to get at.
but Todd's had occasionally had like a really weird looking haircut on the show. Like that was not the Zach haircut.
The one right after they got back from their honeymoon was very
Yes.
short. Yeah, I don't see. We still love you though, John.
I think 2% milk doesn't sound like milk. It's like
Lactate is more like a cream consistency. I like it better than most milk.
How many people had refrigerators that looked just like that?
I had the same color and I had one in green.
Ours was yellow.
I love yellow appliances.
They
Yeah,
all
I-
still run too. If the people that still have them, they still run. Like 40 years.
Yeah, that was the one that was at my parents' house. That yellow one. The green one was in my up.
Does the New York Times really not have a comic? Not have comics?
No, I don't think it does. Do I need to send you a paper?
What a shame. No Dick Tracy.
Paris unhappy about Logan being there is a callback to Rory being with Lane and Zach and Brian.
He's
Not
not.
very.
He should be good. He's got 2 million. Logan is a great character.
He really is.
He has
He's
agreed.
easygoing. He's very
Agreed,
easy.
John.
April scene.
Aren't
That
you
might be a
glad
double
she's
head. That
still
might be a
back?
double head.
April's back.
Nah, not really.
She looks a lot older all of a sudden.
Yeah, she
It's
does.
the hair.
Her hair got longer, that's why. I think.
Yeah, she's got to be close to 14 now.
She might have grown an extra inch.
It would have
Yeah,
been
she
interesting to see
definitely
them
looks
have
more
their own
mature.
show together, like a spin-off or something with just them, like him raising.
Tiff, you're really, really low.
Oh, I think the glasses might also make her look a bit older.
Even Luke notices.
Did she wear makeup before and earrings?
Definitely not the earrings.
I don't think she's wearing makeup. Maybe lip
She's
gloss.
wearing lip
but-
gloss.
Well, yeah, lip gloss, but
That's
It's the
makeup.
earrings. That
well,
make
I
her
didn't
look
say it
older.
wasn't makeup.
You said you didn't think she was wearing makeup.
Some
Lip
blush.
gloss is
I
makeup.
think she's got
Whatever.
blush on.
I think it's the earrings that make her look older. It's just those like or hanging dangly earrings.
I love the Southwestern design on the bottom.
I think puberty made her look older.
I think she has like typical teenage red cheeks too. So like I did a little bit of makeup and look a little bit older with earrings and everything. The whole style is different.
I love that April got him a bracelet. It's so cute.
But he actually put it on for her.
I know. It's so sweet.
It's like when your kid makes you one of those weird macaroni necklaces and you got to wear it for a while to make them happy.
Yeah. I made a few of those when I was a kid.
That's definitely a set in the studio.
Oh, Michelle.
It's cool though. It looks really good. I just love this like new chapter of the Rory story of like, you know, getting out there in the world and you know,
Me too.
those connections and starting to build her career, you know.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah, school doesn't even feel like it's there anymore, which is kind of the way that your senior year, your last year of college, undergrad usually kind of feels.
It's so sweet starting her career. It's giving me like a feeling like leaving university long ago.
Yeah, totally. It makes me feel the same. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love seeing this version of Rory.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it might be my favorite. I think that
Me
this
too.
might be my favorite, like my favorite sort of little chapter of her thing. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite Rory, but like this is my favorite part of her journey. Just because of the nostalgia that comes with going out into the world.
I liked it really too as she started university. It gave you the same feelings thinking back of going yourself for the first time. So
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I think I just have a little bit more nostalgia for this than for my own personal beginning of university.
Always has a gift for the host.
Yep. Logan's in Stars Hollow.
They don't look like
Those
real flowers, but
They're gorgeous though. It's making me itchy.
They
but they're
kept the
gorgeous.
TV.
He probably thought I put it on the wall. Just leave it there. I can afford enough.
Has he never been to this house?
Nope.
Nope.
First time.
What?
Another
And
reason
they're
I really
together
want to be
a
up
really
here.
long time. It's
My gosh, that is so weird.
haven't they been together for like 2.5 years or plus?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say this is probably one of Rory's
Yep.
longest
Like
relationships
30
she's
minutes
on
away.
screen, and it's weird that he hasn't been to her hometown before.
Very.
So interesting that like now that he's cut himself off from Mitchum, it seems almost like he can come into this world for the first time. He's almost allowing himself.
I feel like this might be one of the reasons why I struggled with Logan is we never really got to see him in Stars Hollow until now.
Right,
Oh,
because he just
cool.
dropped her off that day in the limo with everybody, but he never actually went in.
I think it's typical for that time that you're not meeting the family because it's that age where you're like too old to just go into a family home and you're too young to like keep your relationship forever. So I think it's typical in that age to keep a long time to meet the parents.
Her TV looks like it's on one of those old
Bro, the
carts
door is open.
roll into your room in grade school.
Close the door. Close the door.
Nothing's gonna happen. Oh goodness.
Are they little poops?
Or chocolate chips.
No.
Oh.
Bulbs.
Bulbs.
They look like the poop emoji a little bit, right?
yeah,
A little bit.
absolutely.
I think it was
A
before the
Hershey
poop
Kiss.
emojis time.
No, this is one of the few times where like it's hilarious just looking at it.
So this
Looking at,
isn't
a
hay,
show
this
from
is all-
2006
This
from
is all
the
straw.
perspective.
This is all
This
straw.
is-
And why would you?
Oh, so cute. Little scat.
This is the video I used for my tweet. If anybody looked at it,
No hay
He's
in
got,
the
for some reason, he has like Dean vibes. right now.
But your
Can
tongue.
we? Can we not? Can we not? No.
Elaborate on
He
that.
does kind of.
Elaborate.
I'm
No,
sorry.
John,
He does not.
No.
No.
Let him explain. I wanna hear how.
I don't know. He just
Like,
feels.
elaborate, John.
He just suddenly feels a little small towny all of a sudden.
That's funny.
No, Logan is way more attractive than Dean.
More straw, not
Stop.
hay.
It's not all. Comparing two people is not always about how they look.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not saying that either, but like, he just has like a lot more charm to him than Dean ever has. A lot
That's
less
straw.
brooding.
All straw, no hay.
Poor little scab nose.
Poor little scab nose indeed.
It's also spring, so you generally wouldn't have that much straw or hay around during the springtime. That's all like a fall thing.
I've gone to mazes in the spring with hay.
Well, that's not hay, that's straw.
Tomato, tomato. But
No, they're different.
I know.
It's just weird because normally the animals would have eaten all that up. That's what you generally make all that straw or hay for, is for the animals for their bedding or whatever for winter. So typically in the springtime you wouldn't have that much available.
Why you blocking my window, Taylor?
Yeah, Taylor. That's funny.
Jeez, that is a lot of hay. I mean, most of it is just the facade. Like they just created like the outside of it to make it look like it was solid, but still, that's a lot.
Anybody else brought back to Kirk and his hay there? Shampoos and stuff?
Why is Laura just like swinging her purse as she walks?
I think it's great that Suki like called Lorelai out on her judgmental behavior. I really like that.
Did anybody else have a bag like Suki's with the round plastic handle?
Yes.
Yes.
So stylish.
See the guy having
The background, the background,
fake sneezing.
the background talent.
He's sneezing.
It's hard to say whether the director asked them to do that or whether that background talent just decided that they were going to do it.
Maybe he's generally allergic.
No, doubtful.
I love Babette.
Had you heard of Maurice Salted Nuts before,
Yeah.
John?
I had not. No.
Any relation to sweaty balls?
It feels like it feels like Sweaty Balls came out before this, so it feels like it might be a nod to
That's what
Sweaty
I
Balls,
think.
right?
But I can look.
Taylor annoys me so much.
Yep, I love to hate him. I have a love-hate relationship with him. My brother just straight up hates him.
I love his enthusiasm about it. Like everyone hates what he's doing, but he still loves it. That's so great, in my opinion.
Oh my God,
The
Kurt, I love you.
Was wondering why that red flannel was swaying.
For those of us who watched the first episode of the Coven season of American Horror
That's what
Story
I
the other
was
day, this is giving me war flashbacks.
All right, the sweaty balls thing from SNL was in 2013.
Oh no, it was way before that. That's got to be.
Oh, certainly
That's
it was
gotta be
before
like a-
2013.
It had to been like 99 or something originally. It's pretty old.
Can
Oh,
you really
what
just
in the
remove
world?
the gazebo?
What the heck?
Exactly. They're getting rid of the gazebo. Or at least
Oh
moving
my
it.
God, that's crazy.
with
I
hay
mean, that
foundation.
gazebo can move. I didn't even think about it, but it certainly can move.
All right, it was December 12th, 1998.
Yeah, I was in high. That was my senior year in high school. No, that was my freshman year in college. That's right.
Making paella.
Yummy. Ooh, I haven't posted a recipe lately. I'll have to put that one on me.
See, I'm getting Chris vibes from him. Like, all
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
and
He's
dressed nice.
very Chrissy right here. Yeah. It was just when they were sauntering through the town that it just kind of he felt a little bit more small town to me all of a sudden.
Yeah.
He feels more Lukey to me because Christopher never cooked. Luke is there and cooking in the kitchen and making it comfortable. It's not Christopher like.
Everybody sees a different thing, I guess, in these characters. I certainly see that Chris. I get it that Chris wasn't really a cook thing, but there are other traits.
It's
that
the energy.
I'm seeing here. Yeah, the
Yeah.
energy. A little bit more Chris for me first.
The pants.
Well, and I think it's his fascination almost like with the town. Like as an outsider, it feels very much like Chris.
Yeah.
Like Colonel.
I think
Wow, I think
everyone
he's talking
was,
about Colonels.
I think everyone who was not growing up in such a small city was like this. Jason was the same, and I think everyone who didn't like live in a small village. I had a friend who was growing up in the city, and she was so amazed about all my small village stories. So I think it's a typical small village, big city thing.
Yay, Rory! You got the job.
What happened there at the end? Did they spill?
Yeah,
Spill
looked like the
something on
wine was gonna spill. Yeah,
That looked like it might have been a little bit of a blooper.
yeah, looked like it wasn't supposed to happen. Which is great. I love when that happens, and they leave those little things in episodes.
So that little bit that happened there, I was trying to read what was happening. Somebody can refresh me really quick. So he's looking at getting into the video game industry.
Kind
As
of.
a-
I think more
like an
just the
investor
general
in some-
online
some-
virtual goods kind
Got
of
it.
realm.
Maybe like Bitcoin type thing ish.
No, it sounds like it's a little bit more like game items.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
downloadable
Yeah.
content.
And but in terms of the tone of the scene, it was Lorelai looking at him thinking, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
Another scheme.
Yeah, I got it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.
Uh-oh.
Oy, oy.
Yes, Scooby Doo.
You don't need to be that worried.
Oh, 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 oh.
Oh boy.
Yummy.
I'm not a key lime. Did they say key
I
lime?
kind of got a sense that Rory
I should've got
heard
carried.
them as she was walking out.
She what?
I had the sense that she could kind of hear them as she was walking out, or at least got a sense that there was something going on.
Yeah, and she tried to
I love this
diffuse.
scene.
You just like that he's mostly naked.
I mean, I'm not.
I mean,
gonna
he is
deny
hot.
that. So
So.
no, but I do love this scene. It's very sweet.
Air and Chinese food are very important factors.
I like that the pro con list is something that they haven't dropped.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Don't mock the pro
Nope,
cons.
don't mock the pro con list. This is the first time we get a pet name from Rory for Logan. She called him Babe twice.
David Hassel.
David Apple.
The socks.
I get you want to put on a shirt and pants to walk out
But
the
socks,
bedroom,
no.
But
but
you
the
don't
socks
socks.
aren't needed.
What weird thing is she gonna think he was doing with his feet?
I think this talk show how uncomfortable he is after
That's
his
really
talk with
funny.
Lorelai. I wouldn't feel comfortable in that house anymore if I would be Logan.
This might be a double headphone one there, John.
Yeah, double headphone indeed.
I already am.
Nice.
Yeah, it's impossible not to worry about your kid.
Absolutely.
And this does remind me of one of the earliest Dean and Lorelai.
I completely have so much respect
Yeah.
for him for saying that to her.
Me too.
I was just
love
thinking
this
this-
scene.
But Logan's more aware.
I have
Dean.
double headphones on, just that. Wow.
Yeah, I agree, Tasha. But I am very, very proud of him and have a lot of respect for him.
Oh
doing
yeah.
this.
Dean would
Lorelai's
sulk
di-
and be moody, broody about it.
And Lorelai's different with him. She's not flirting with him.
Gosh.
That's so weird. No, 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 no.
Ooh. That I definitely believe. We've already seen it.
Me
I mean,
too.
definitely.
I love
He's
that.
been a work dork this entire
Yes, he
this entire
has.
season.
Love his work dorkness. It's great. I love this scene. So good.
The new
A while
respect.
back,
That was
I believe it
that
was-
was an awesome scene, by the way.
That was
so
a very
while
cool
back, I
scene.
believe it was Andrea who said that like
goodness.
she saw some like parallels between Lorelai and Logan. Do you see those parallels now, John?
Yes.
Or not yet?
Yes, for sure. I mean, after that scene, for sure. Let's talk about it afterwards because we're witnessing something pretty impressive here. Because I was thinking, when are they going to have something like just crazy that they did to the set, like they've done in previous seasons? And that's crazy.
Yeah, this is definitely where you get it.
This is so cute.
I wish I lived in an area that did stuff like this.
This is so cool.
We do some stuff around our gazebo, but nothing like this.
I think the leather jacket that Logan has on gave you that Dean vibe, John. Now that I'm looking at it.
True, actually.
Dean or
I think it was.
Jess, because Jess was more of the leather jacket kind of.
Yeah, he didn't get it until like he left though.
Wait,
So,
what? What are you talking about, Jess?
The leather jacket that Jess wears, he didn't get it until like after he left Stars Hollow, or like he was about to leave. But Dean
Yeah, I
already
will say
had
that-
one when he was here.
I will say that
that's
I'm
why I
sorry,
thought
but that
Dean
is better than Logan's.
That maze looks awesome.
It totally looks like.
Look
a-
how disheveled Taylor looks.
We're so allergic to the hay.
For me,
Hilarious.
Taylor
It's
He
basically
spent all of
looks,
his money on it, and he's so
Taylor
allergic.
basically looks like me every day of the year.
the only
And
time that I'm gonna
Work dork.
never mind.
Sean on those stilts.
That is a really hard thing to do. I've never tried it, but I've heard that that's a super hard thing to do. So I wonder how long it took him to learn how to walk on stilts.
I've
with the
tried it.
Oh,
got
we should
injuries from-
ask him when he comes for the finale.
Yeah.
What?
Factor each
Aw,
other
I
in.
love that. Factor each other in.
Oh.
The Logan in this episode is why I love season 7
Agreed.
so much. I really like his whole thing, how he turned out.
Me too.
Yeah, he definitely had growth in this one.
I mean, it's kind of cute that like he really wanted this thing so badly, and it just turned him into an allergic mess, and yet he's still sticking with it because it's pretty cool. You gotta admit, it is pretty cool. Oh wow, this is cool.
That is my favorite scene.
I
in
love
the
that
entire
moment.
I was gonna
episode.
say that's really interesting. Like they come to
The
a crossroads. in
crossroads.
ways.
Yep, I love
That's-
I
that.
bet those are
Symbolism.
solid blocks because I think it would take more work to try to wrap up boxes of stuff than it would be just to have those ordered in from somewhere.
Yeah.
Are you
Oh,
still
yeah.
feeling nervous about Rory and Logan, John, or are you starting to feel better?
Feeling a little better, but still
Stole my
feeling nervous.
question,
Because
Lee.
the reason why I'm still feeling nervous
Sorry.
is because it feels too good.
One of them's gonna die.
I'm kidding. It's fine.
I love how excited Zach is that he can get through them.
I love that April's helping out with the diner too. I think that's
No spoilers, sweetie.
Zach freaking out about the maze is really funny too.
The only way that I'm doing a maze is if it's a Harry Potter one.
He can smell it like Lorelai smells snow.
No one heard me.
I love the
I
sister.
love this scene.
Did anyone hear my Harry Potter comment?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have it.
Goblet of fire.
Pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love her outfit.
More pop-up hugs.
God, this is so great. Such a good episode.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, this is
One of my favorites.
favorites
That's
from
why I
this
wanted to be the co-host for this episode, and it just happened to work out.
Ho,
So
ho,
now-
ho.
Back with the tiny hat.
So cute.
He sounds like a PTA dad.
He's so proud. It's so
And
cute.
that smile on his face.
Yep.
Isn't that the Lorelai face from the intro?
I believe so.
Yes, it is. Aw.
Oh,
Oh,
Like she said to Mac, she's not good at
Finally.
making a call when a call is necessary. Yes, you were.
yep, I agree.
Yep.
The power of reflection.
that is what he was doing.
Oh, totally.
It was like trying to do this one thing, and then as soon as it's done, then I'll get to you. Like I need to eat my peas before I move on to my mashed potatoes.
I was about to say that's how I eat.
Me too.
How could you have any pudding when you don't eat your meat?
Dirty.
Oh, finally.
Five minutes to harvest, guys.
There's the smile from the.
Ooh, that really hits you in the feelers. That
Yeah.
little scene.
5 minutes to harvest, guys.
She didn't go
Yeah.
left.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tasha.
Tasha.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
So
Did not
good.
follow his
So
instructions.
good. Finally, I'm so happy.
She didn't go. She's not looking to get out. She's
Which-
actually just wandering through again.
Returning.
Wow, that was
already knows.
awesome. I loved that episode.
Yeah, hey,
Oh,
Bell,
Me
Mary.
too. It's one of my
Expect that
favorites.
one to be high on the list.
It
Mary.
might be my favorite episode of season
I
7.
think
I
it's
absolutely love this episode.
Wow,
It's a
that was
wonderful
so nice.
episode.
though I also like the Lorelai and Bon Voyage. These
Me
are my
too.
top
Those
two
are my
this
favorites
season.
too. Yeah.
Lorelai, oh my gosh, yes. and
Wow, wow,
Lorelai.
wow. Okay, before we go too deep into combo here, let's get some folks up here on the couch with us so that we can make this a real jolly.
Yes.
jolly event.
Yes.
Wow, what a nice episode. What a nice episode.
I think after all the sad episodes, it was nice to have something a bit lighthearted.
Yes.
Logan has come a long way from the.
I want you all to
You know,
know that
Colin has been
Jason
looking for
thought
the one
those
girl
were
that
little
I love.
poops as well. Those dancers.
What was that?
So Emma, if you could do me a huge favor and just
I'm on
keep
it.
your eye out
I'm on it
for
already.
mic flashes, and then of course
Yep.
if you have any thoughts on how how we should lead the discussion, please feel free to chime in.
Gotcha. I'm good.
Where should we start? I mean, do we want to go back to our first episode, or do we want to go backwards? I feel like we
I
should
think
go
that's
to
a
the
good
first
idea.
episode. Just
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I agree.
I feel like we might get this episode especially was just I will want to linger in it for a while. So let's spend some time in our first episode. It's one of the most difficult episodes to revisit because of Mia.
Are you traumatized?
I like I was saying, I feel like if I had met this version of Mia, I wouldn't have been quite so. It might not have registered for me what I didn't really love about the original Mia. It's just for me, just the in general, the character is just too sugary sweet for my taste in a character, and because of it, it just felt more like she just is sort of a plot device, and it felt a bit the same here, except she had a little bit more sassafras, and so it was a little more palatable for me.
She got younger. Sorry.
Yeah, she did get younger, but I also feel like maybe they could say that she's dyeing her hair now, like she's got like a new husband, and just
Or something
feels-
evil is afoot because she's
She's
aging backwards.
Well, she did a
Yes, or-
face off.
yes, or she's or
I
It's
like
very
how Bob
possible
said that she's a shapeshifter.
yeah,
Yes.
or she or
That's funny.
she's like somehow, yeah, or somehow she's like, you know, she's like. Did you hear that?
No.
No, like in the X Files.
Babsy said she's like a shapeshifter from the X Files.
That's funny.
Ari
Well,
got her
you know,
mask
I mean,
wrong.
she did take Brian's head off, so she had to have a facelift of some sort, so that she could go incognito.
Well, before we go too deep into this, I don't know, Claudia, you do know about this like ongoing running joke, right? That it is a joke.
Yeah, I get that it's a joke, but I don't get why. I think nobody hates Mia like you do. It's like, I don't get why you hate such a sweet character. It's for me
It's
the
too- it's-
weirdest
well, it's not-
thing you
well-
ever said.
Well, it's because it's not that it's the joke begins from the standpoint of a character that just doesn't feel believable to me. That a character that just feels more like it's a character that was created as a device to help us kind of understand Emily and Lorelai, but doesn't feel like a character that has any flaws like a real normal human being. And so that's where the joke begins, with me just being like, I'm not crazy about that character, because it's just like there's nothing there. It seems like styrofoam, like a cardboard cutout of a character. And then from there but then from there I just started to have fun with the exaggeration of it, until the Mia character had beheaded my character on the show and is the evil incarnate.
I was going to say, we haven't seen Brian in quite some time.
You have not seen Brian in quite some time, which
Nope.
I think
The
could
plot
could be
thickens.
potentially Mia at that.
What
that
do you
is,
mean? We just saw
responsible.
Brian like 3 episodes ago.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think
I will say though,
Yeah,
in
but
terms
that
of
was
not-
months ago in the show.
he's
I
gonna
will
show
say
up as
that
one
in
of the
terms of not
twins.
seeing, Brian, from an actor's perspective, when that first started happening, where the Brian character wasn't as necessary for the Zach character to exist and be an important part of the show, from a selfish actor perspective, watching it was kind of there was a little bit of a bite to it. Like I was just like, oh man, I didn't know that these happened. I wish that I'd been there. Like, what was I not good enough to be in a? As the series has progressed, I prefer it. I love this Zach character, like on his own in these scenes. This season especially is just, it's just so delightful to get to know that Zach character in this way. These last 2 episodes were just awesome for Zach.
I almost feel like we needed to see it happen. Sorry, guys. I keep coughing. I almost feel like we needed to see it happen so we could get to know Zach more on like this personal level and like outside of being a band member.
Totally. And Todd is just, he's just so good in that role, and taking something like a character that seems more like a joke, like his behavior seems more like it's designed to be just shtick, like a joke,
Tongue in cheek.
Yeah, it's sort of tongue in cheek when in the context of the band, but then you pull it out of the context of the band and you give it its own thing. It's so multidimensional, and especially the stuff with him and Luke when he arrives there early and he can't stop talking. He really wants to like have a conversation, and you can see that he's like completely freaking out, like oh my god, it just hit me that I'm going to be a father, and he just nails it. And it's something that I would never have really guessed with the character early on, because all of that behavior was a little bit more comedy than any sort of really multi-dimensional
I think
character.
one of my
and that's more like from a writing.
all-time favorite lines from Zach is, "Do I look like a papa to you?"
Oh, I love
Hey,
that.
But
I
I
just love
missed
it.
my spot. But I did love getting to. Sorry to cut you off, John. I didn't.
Oh,
mean
no
to.
problem. No problem.
But yeah,
I just love that. Like I said, I mean, when it first started happening during this watch, because I haven't seen so much of this, like all of that stuff, I'd never really seen it, and so it I mean, being honest, it did like kind of sting a little bit, because early on in the series, like Brian and Zach were a thing on the show, and anything that he was in, I was in. It was like we were kind of, as actors, defined by each other. So that was like a little hard for me early, like in like season 5 when it really started to happen. But by the end of this watch, I kind of prefer it for that character. As a viewer, I'm like, I'm really enjoying getting to know him without Brian.
And he's so funny. I really like him working in the diner. And he's starting to look up to Luke as like a father figure in a way. And it's just funny. It's fun to watch him kind of become more of a solid character, not necessarily, like, no offense to the band, but a side character to Lane.
Exactly.
Right.
And that whole scene with him freaking out about being a dad was like, obviously it was in his own sort of Zach way, but it was like totally resonated with me, because I felt that way, like it just hits you all of a sudden, like, oh my God, like I'm going to be a dad. Like somebody's going to call me dad. How weird is that?
Yeah, somebody's going to rely on you fully.
Have you found your dad
and that was
mode
also
fully,
really
John?
powerful. That was also really powerful for me to hear Luke say, you're going to find your dad groove. Don't worry. You're going to find it, because that's something that like I still worry about a little bit, like I still think like what is John Cabrera, dad of a teenager?
Well, that's
like?
it. My,
Like, will I be able-
kids are 17 and 19, and I'm still having those feelings. I don't think it goes away.
It's so crazy. That's so crazy. But that was just, I think that's really powerful and
that was
very nice and very comforting to hear, Sherry.
Does Josie say dada yet, or did she say mama?
No. She's
not yet?
She's 7 months. So
They start babbling and saying that stuff pretty soon. She should be.
Maybe in like the next couple of months. I mean, she's already like making like weird little noises. And
I mean, she
sounds
might
and
not
stuff.
be aware that she's calling you dada. She might call anybody dada, but that should be like some of her very first sounds will be, and it's usually dada. It's easier to say than mama. Mama was usually the later.
Maybe. I don't think if she starts going
ourselves so we don't feel so bad.
I was going to say if she says that, I doubt that I will say, look, she's saying dada. Like I don't think so. I don't think so.
You probably will.
But anyway, that was a really powerful moment in the episode for me. In that first one.
Yeah, that scene was so sweet. I get it so much.
Yeah, John, I was just going to say, I actually really appreciate that you're saying that, because so full disclosure, like what I specialize in is actually moms, especially new moms and perinatal mental health and all that. But one of the things like we find that I wish there would be more examples of in like media and just out there is, the dad's journey in this. And, I think that's important that they have like that representation in shows, as well as just that validation.
Yeah, it's true. The dad journey thing has been they, especially in these last couple seasons, because early on in the series, the whole dad thing was more of like, the most we really got was this idea that like Christopher was a deadbeat dad, but we didn't really get to explore real fatherhood until April came into the picture, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess
Richard.
you could argue that Richard is an important part of the fatherhood side of the story, but even there, I mean, I feel like Emily dominates that world so much that it's hard, and they have had really great fatherhood episodes throughout the series, but there hasn't really been a running through storyline that has been really focused on fatherhood until the April storyline.
Well, and also
you know, the Gilmore Girls, like we get different versions of motherhood from the get-go.
Yeah.
So we, you know, we get lots of that, whereas, you know, we don't really get full fatherhood examples from the beginning, the way that we get motherhood.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
Can I just weigh in on Christopher and the deadbeat dad thing? Because one thing that's always bothered me is how we talk about he was never there, he never saw Rory grow up, but that was Lorelai's choice. And I know they were only 16, but she left and she made it that way. So I don't know that that's necessarily a fair.
We have actually had long discussions about this, and I actually am on the side of, I don't really think it was as much Christopher's like being a sort of flake and not being there as it is Lorelai. It's been a point of like big discussion throughout this watch several times, and I think that there's good arguments for both. There are certainly those who feel like he is unreliable, can point to a variety of specifics that seem to suggest that. But when we first meet him, it's true, at least from my perspective. I don't really get the sense that he's a guy who doesn't want to be there. It seems like he's a guy who just kind of can't be there because of the circumstances that Lorelai has set up.
Okay, I'm not always able to participate in everything, so that's fair. I just also wanted to say that I've kind of been in the same position, so it's just always a point to me that you can't come back 16 years later and say, you're not in her life.
Yeah. No, that's generally how I feel about the character. It's why one of the reasons why I've been so sympathetic towards him throughout the series. But when I said deadbeat, I just meant that that's how he has been called. So I mostly meant that with the Christopher character early in the series, we as viewers are not treated to much fatherhood storyline. Like we don't really get much through line about him being a father. That really fatherhood, in the way that Diana was sort of describing that motherhood is explored, really doesn't begin in the series in earnest until April.
Understood. Thank you.
So you guys have had Emma was flashing and Lily and Lee were really flashing during that conversation. Just so I don't know if you saw that, John and Emma. I didn't know if you were waiting for somebody to tell them.
Why don't we do Lily first, then we go Lee.
Cool. Okay. So just like, excuse me, Emma. So like the whole like
Lily, have you been running through a hay bale maze?
No, I've been like sneezing for probably over a month. So, and also it is kind of early, so I sound very congested and deep voice. So excuse me.
Early.
So like, I woke up not that long ago. I was up like till like almost 1 a.m. Okay. Don't leave me alone.
I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you all. I'm just messing with you.
But basically, the whole like Chris isn't actually dead because Laura like took Rory away from him when they were 16. Like in that sense of the way, I totally agree because she did just be like, okay, I'm leaving. You're part, like, I don't really care if you're part of it. I'm not telling you where I live, all that stuff. But like eventually they did because, you know, he was around for some stuff when she was like younger. But then he just chose not to be there because he was just like, he just was immature. So like to the point of she took her away and didn't give them any information. That's not his fault. But anything after he knew where they were and he had contact with them and just decided not to show up, that is 100% on. Because he chose not to come around when he had the opportunity and when Lorelai was like, "Yeah, come be a part of your kid's life." So, you know.
Yeah. Lee, did you want to talk? Did you want to expand on that, or did you want to focus on something from the episode?
No, I do want to expand on that a little. Forgive me, I haven't actually ever been around when we've kind of gotten into the was Chris a deadbeat or was it Lorelai's fault? So I've never been around for that discussion. So if I'm repeating things that people are tired of hearing, I'm sorry. But my opinion of this has always been, first of all, Lorelai was in Hartford until Rory was 1. So that first year of her life, she still lived in the same town as Chris. He had very much had access. Lorelai wasn't saying no to Chris being a father with that whole plan that the family laid out for them. She was saying no to being married to Chris. And when she moved away, she moved 20 minutes away. It wasn't as if she took Rory to the other side of the country. And later on, especially, I think we hear it a few times in season 1, Lorelai saying to Chris, "You have always had the door to Rory. That has always been open. And I'm glad you're finally using it because I've always wanted you to. Like, you can call when you want, you can visit when you want. That's always been there." And I suppose I was technically a Rory. I lived 20 minutes away from one of my parents, and there was always access to me. My other parent was very, very encouraging of this, and they never made the effort with me. So I find it very hard to look at Chris and go, "Oh, poor Chris, Lorelai excluded him," when that was never the case. He just didn't make the little bit of effort that was required of him to drive 20 minutes to go see his child. So I think
I agree, Lee. 100%.
Thank you. Yeah,
Me too,
I'd never
100.
see it as Chris have been cut off. I always see it as Chris just didn't bother.
I think it's hard. Chris basically wanted to marry Lorelai and she said no. So being in that age, told no, I don't want to have you in my life, probably hurts him a lot. So I understand why he didn't take the door and didn't visit her so much, because he probably was hurt a lot about her moving, about her saying no. It's hard in that age. It's really hard.
Yeah, I agree with both Lily Lee and Claudia, and I was going to say, Chris, like Claudia said, he was rejected, the marriage, and so he took that to heart, and we can see throughout the series how much he loves Lorelai, and he's wanted to be with her. And the only time we've seen him around is this last season when they've been married. So I don't think it was just that Lorelai pushed him away. He didn't want to be there because it probably hurt him to be around Lorelai, but that was at the detriment of his relationship with Rory, because Lorelai said multiple times, "The door's open, you can have it whenever you want to," and he just never took it. And John, you kind of compared him to Sherry once, where you were like, well, he didn't, do a Sherry. He didn't move away to Paris, a different country. But exactly, he didn't move. She's been 20 minutes away, and he just never took.
He was
the drive.
He was in California in season 1 when he came to visit. They said they did mention that he was on the other side of the other coast.
It doesn't matter where you are.
That's him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You still call your child, and you still have a relationship with them, no matter where you are. And most of the time, he wasn't in California. He was nearby on the
I
upper
did get the
coast.
sense that he and Rory were chatting a lot. Like I certainly felt like there was a relationship that they had developed over the phone. I think more than anything, what season 7 showed me about the character that I hadn't fully really grasped was how incredibly insecure he is in general, how so like in love he has been with Lorelai, to the point where he is a mess when he feels rejected by her. All of the behavior that he exhibits in this season, as it's sort of winding down, as their relationship is dying, is like, utterly childish, completely insensitive, coming to a hospital, not even asking how her father's doing, all these things that are coming from the extreme hurt that he has because of how insecure he is. And so if you take that and then you marry that with how he was likely feeling at the beginning of his relationship with Lorelai, and in those early days, it makes a lot more sense that he couldn't be around, that he was doing these like, like to the detriment of his relationship with Rory, because of his intense love for Lorelai that had him complete tunnel vision. Like, that's all I care about. That's all I want. Not even really putting as much thought into his own daughter, in the same way that he wasn't putting much thought into all these other things at the end of season 7, when all he cared about was preserving his relationship with Lorelai.
Right. But it wasn't like he couldn't be around. He chose not to be around.
Agreed.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that.
Do
I
you
just
think that
wait, hold on.
do you think that if
Regina, then Sherry.
And by the way, I wasn't suggesting, I don't think I ever really was suggesting that he couldn't be around, other than the fact that he was living in California early on. Because I mean, anybody can be around. Like, anybody can, he could have certainly gone, like, just showed up. I was more suggesting that Lorelai sort of created this atmosphere that was very much, I'm on my own here and don't really want anybody to be here with me doing this thing that I'm doing. And then you couple that with this love that he has for her, and the sense of rejection that he has for her, and the atmosphere for a man as insecure as him is one that makes it very hard for him to take that step. That's more what I was referring to. And I'm also not suggesting that's good. I certainly recognize, and especially now after season 7, recognize how much of that is a flaw in the Chris character, for sure. But I do think that some of what Lorelai did there instigated it, given the fact that she would know who he is and understand his flaws, that her actions only exacerbated any chance that he was going to have a relationship with his daughter.
I see Regina. Then I think I saw Samantha, Shauna, and then Stacy flashing.
And Sherry.
And Sherry as well.
By the way, just I mean, obviously, I can talk Chris for hours. We've been doing that a lot, but we do have some really, really fun stuff in these 2 episodes that we don't want to miss. Like, I mean, that stuff in the hay Bale maze.
No, because I haven't left.
I just had a quick question.
Yes.
Do you think that if Chris would have actually still shown up, that Lorelai may have actually seen him earlier as a potential to be her husband? Because he does run. The second Lorelai says that she's not interested, that he's not ready, he bolts, and Rory suffers. Do you think if he would have actually still come around for Rory, that Lorelai may have seen him through different glasses?
I'm now pretty much convinced that they're not right for each other. And they're not right for each other now, and I don't think that they would have been right for each other then. The reasons why they're not right for each other now has a lot to do with like maturity things that I don't think he'll ever be able to quite get over. And he was especially much more immature when he was younger. I don't think so. I mean, they might have had like a nicer honeymoon phase that wasn't affected by all of the Luke stuff. But I think ultimately, I don't think that she would have really been happy with him in the long run.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think Christopher's biggest like flaw is that he needs structure in his life, and I think that's why he takes that, like Emily has said it time and time again, like when you get pregnant, you get married, like a child deserves a mother and a father. He takes that rule so literally, and I think that's what affects and clouds his judgment and being present in his own child's life. I mean, coupled with all of the other factors that we have mentioned here today, but I think that maturity thing that you're talking about and that lack of structure is not fatal per se, but it's quite a flaw in the Christopher character. So that's all I wanted to say.
John, it wasn't really, it was somewhat related to this. I was just gonna say I scheduled an event to maybe kind of expand upon this further.
Oh, cool. I'll come to that.
So like next week, Thursday.
Oh yeah, I'll come to that. That sounds good. I mean, I love talking about this. It's not that I don't want to dive deep into it. It's just it's the heart. It's not the heart, but it's one of the big series wide like character through lines.
It's the Gilmore Girls whale.
Yeah, it's really great, and it's so fun to explore and understand that all of that human behavior. So I love doing it. We just have 2 episodes for today's episode that are I think are just fire, and we should.
That's why I figured I would maybe allow us to expand upon it later.
Yeah. So, is there anything from that first episode that we want to focus on before we move on to the second one? I mean, I could say that the stuff with Emily and Mia, or Emily and really more Emily and Lorelai, I thought was really interesting there, especially that scene at the very end with Lorelai standing outside, or Emily standing outside the door, and how Lorelai is now really starting to understand what it feels like to have a daughter like truly like going off into the world, that and so in a way like understanding what her mother must have felt, but then also understanding that her mother also had another thing, which was not just that my daughter's going out into the world, but that my daughter's like, I don't really have a relationship to my daughter.
I think that Mia telling Lorelai that Emily had come to visit her, and Lorelai didn't know that from 5 years ago, also made a difference to the way she started seeing her mother, because she kind of thought maybe Emily didn't always care and just wanted control. And Emily was asking Mia how they were, what they were like, wanted pictures. And that's kind of the opposite of control. And in a way, it was more about caring than controlling. And so I think she just kind of saw it as maybe she started thinking, I did deprive my mother of her grandchild. And so she wants to maybe change that.
Yeah, I didn't even really I didn't see it. I mean, there might have been some of that in there, but I didn't see it as much depriving of her grandchild. I actually thought it was like Lorelai understanding for a moment what it must feel like for her mom to have lost her.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
And can we?
I'm sure that the
Emily
grandchild
loving
is
Will
in there.
Smith?
Yes,
She's got good taste.
She does.
She's got a little crush on Will Smith. That makes sense.
I like how Will Smith brought her
charming.
out of her days. Whatever Emily was like, she was watching Rory go off in the distance, and she was kind of half paying attention to Lorelai, and she was just kind of doing whatever. And then as soon as Will Smith comes up, she's focused back in.
It's also
attention.
It's also a very, very sweet visual ending. The three generation of Gilmore women all sitting on a motel bed together watching a movie, which is really nice.
Vending machine snacks.
Emily, does
Yeah, because
anybody know
we've
why
been-
Happiness was filmed?
I forget why.
I've seen that movie, but I can't remember
I've seen it, but I
why.
haven't seen it in a long time, and I forget why.
Yeah, I always wanted to know, like, I've never thought of it before until I saw this episode again. I'm like, why is it spelled wrong? I have no idea. It's according to Google, it can be interpreted that the way happiness was spelled, it represents an unbeaten path that we shall walk along together. The Y represents you and what makes you happy.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's sweet.
Maybe that's
Cool.
a little bit relevant to the scene in a way as to why that
Yeah.
was the one
But
you're referencing.
But one of the things that I thought was really cool about it is that like throughout the series we've always seen Lorelai and Rory watching these movies together, eating snacks, and so we saw the three of them doing that for the first time.
We
Yeah, no,
also
that was
usually
so sweet.
see Lorelai and Rory on an opposite seating situation than Emily, like the two of them together and her apart.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know that there have been some other episodes. There was that one episode where they were at her house and they were watching something. I remember when Emily really wanted Rory to be kind of into the watching the stuff that she was watching, and then
The ballroom
and then
dance.
the ballroom dancing, and then Lorelai came over and they were watching it, you know, and snarking at it, and of course, like Emily was sleeping on the chair next to them. That but this was the first time, at least I can remember, where it was like three of them, like friends, hanging out watching a movie together with like the kind of snacks that like we don't ever see Emily eating. It just
She
was
ate
really.
them at the hospital. She
Yeah,
was eating milk
but
duds.
that's different. That's
But
like,
you know what I
yeah.
mean.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
I'm just saying that this moment is like it feels like it's a moment about the three of them for the first time in a context that we've only really gotten to see for Lorelai and Rory, which ties in a lot to the idea that Lorelai didn't left her mother and didn't really ever give her mother the chance to have that kind of a relationship. And I know that, like, you know, maybe her mother wasn't somebody who would be that into that kind of a relationship on a normal, you know, on a regular basis, but to see it here now, we kind of there's something nice about them coming together that episode does. I still feel like the Mia character doesn't do much except serve as a tool for that to happen, but that's just me.
This is kind of off topic, but y'all started talking about snacks and it got me thinking, did anyone realize that this new Mia is the neighbor from Edward Scissorhands? So now all I can do is see her shoving ambrosia salad in people's mouths.
Oh,
Ooh, I didn't realize.
I just
wait a
realized that
second.
evil.
Now I'm thinking back, and I think you're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's the neighbor who like came on to Edward, and then she was like, "Try some of my ambrosia salad." Like, so that's all I can think of.
What's funny is she looks almost exactly the same as she did in that movie.
Yeah.
That is funny. Should we move on to the second episode?
Yes.
Would you mind?
Yes.
Because we don't have that much more time
Yeah.
together.
Can-
And
I say something
once
about the
again,
second
John, you
episode?
definitely see why I liked Logan the whole time.
Yes. Thank you.
I
love seeing Logan.
I've always liked the character, but anyway, sorry.
Can I say something about the second episode? It's less about the episode and more about just things that I had noticed.
Mhm.
When Logan makes the paella, this is the third time paella is referenced in Gilmore Girls. The first time is when Max is cooking it. The second time is when Liz is telling Lorelai that Luke makes a mean paella, and then now Logan's making it. And I don't know if there's any like significance to that, but I just thought it was interesting.
I mean, it's. I think that it's probably the significance. If I had to guess, the significance is that paella is maybe something that Amy and or Dan are really into, and maybe that was something when those early references to it were brought up in the writers' room. Maybe the writers heard it, and that just became something that they knew, and then they brought it. They kept it as a through line, and then of course the writers would remember that in this season. I don't think it has any particular symbolism. Certainly has me thinking that I kind of want to learn how to make paella because I don't know how to make it, and
I've made.
Are you gonna send me a recipe?
Already did. Well, I made
did.
once, and
I love you all.
I do not think I made it correctly because I did not like it very much. So I would like to try it one time, just having somebody else make it. I think that maybe I would like it better.
I love paella.
Experience.
I love paella. I mean, I'm Cuban, so we've got we've got that massive paella that's made on Calle Ocho in Miami.
Didn't Suki name that stray cat paella as well?
Oh my
No,
gosh.
papaya.
Papaya. I was like, are you kidding me?
Papaya.
Papaya.
I thought that too at first, and then I was like, oh wait, no, it's papaya.
Another funny thing that I noticed in this episode, and it's just something small, is that Paris says that she went and kicked Jake Gyllenhaal out of bed, and Maggie Gyllenhaal, Jake's sister, was on the previous episode. So I just thought that was
Wait, Maggie Gyllenhaal was on the last episode? Which
yeah,
episode?
she played Donna. She played the
That was
hippie-
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was like, I was looking at her and I was thinking, who is that? I've seen that actress before. That because she had really straight hair. Because Maggie Gyllenhaal usually has kind of like not curly, like wavy-ish brown hair. Right?
I
And
never
her hair
put that
was
together. Interesting.
That's
You are
interesting.
right. She usually has more of a brunette hair, and it's usually wavy. You're right.
It's wavy, and yeah, like I mean, that was clearly part of the character. It was this like kind of funky, like hippie-ish type. Anyway, that was cool. That's cool. So let's talk about Logan here for a second.
We get a little more insight into what he might actually be like without his father.
Yeah, but I will say I still am worried.
Yeah,
well, he's young.
I still am worried because if things just are going too well right now. I mean, even though like yes, even though like the that stuff is like, you know, I don't know, when characters tell you like it's all good, I'm here, you have nothing to worry about. You usually have something to worry about.
You're waiting. You're always waiting for a shoe to drop, John. I love.
Well,
that.
yeah, because I mean that's narrative, and so and we need some kind of reversal in order for it to keep, in order to keep the blood pumping, and so I mean, unless the character is just removed from the storyline from here on out, we're just like, this is the resolution of that character. It doesn't really feel like this is the resolution of the character. So I feel like there's more to come, and because there's more to come, we're on a high right now with him. He's like, we're kind of in a positive place with him. So I feel like that there's only one direction to go, which is something, some other thing is gonna get in the way of it.
But I love that conversation with him and Lorelai. I've always thought that he was kind of like Lorelai, but he hadn't figured out how to get out from under his family. And in this episode, he kind of admits that finally he's out and wants to get out on his own and do his own thing. And she kind of is accepting that now. And I like.
Yeah, and I loved that when Logan said that, you left, like you went out on your own, like that's why I thought you'd understand like why I did that. Like, and then Lorelai was like, I never thought of it like that. Like, he's right. Like, she did that.
Well, would Lorelai have preferred him to be like kind of under the thumb of his father with all of that money, and like, is that really something that Lorelai values? Like, or has she just never really liked him?
No, I don't think so.
Like he had stability before.
Yeah, I think she just thought he was a spoiled rich kid and didn't really think of him as somebody who wanted to work hard and do something on their own, that he just wanted to take advantage of his family's money. I think that's what she thought he was. And in talking to him, she's learned that isn't all he's about.
Because he is a real work dork. He's a real work dork this season. I mean, he struck me this season. He made a really big mistake, but he made a mistake that I could see plenty of smart, capable people doing. That was like, first of all, I mean, he didn't do enough of his research, but that it sounded to me like that was actually like that company was deliberate, like they were deliberately looking for somebody to make a mistake like that. So, it could have been anybody that ended up falling into that trap, and that company probably, or the people that own that trademark, they likely went out of their way to you know, to make sure that they increase their chances of somebody falling into that trap. So I don't really totally fault him for that. I see it more like, wow, this guy went from being, you know, jumping out of planes and flying by the seat of his pants to being actually pretty responsible and really focused and all that, and only reverted to all of that behavior when he was just in this really dark place that that he was a little you know, had kind of been thrown off a bit. But now that he's reforming what, you know, like what he wants to do next and leaving his father and whatnot, I have like no doubt that he's going to be successful, mostly just because of how hard he was working earlier in the season. And I actually don't really necessarily think that he's that much of a gambler outside of his like crazy Logan stuff that he does when he's, you know, not quite as focused. Even when he's talking to Lorelai about like, you know, this new like gaming venture and all of this, and like, you know, in-game items and all of that, that was actually a really big, like back in like the late aughts, that was actually a really burgeoning industry that was growing. It like huge. I mean, now it's massive. If you had gotten into like in-game items and all of that kind of stuff, there's like people who did that, like totally not just like saw the opportunity there, but also really like, you know, understood the nuances of it that it seems like he does, that, you know, are like hugely successful now. So that didn't strike me as like, oh, this guy is just like, you know, just totally coming up with all kinds of crazy schemes and stuff. I actually feel like Logan is the most focused and the most likely to succeed now that he is like shaken off whatever whatever depression he was in after the big mistake happened, and he's ready to move forward. He doesn't have his dad there with him anymore. I think he's chances of success very high, but I also think that will also be what gets in the way of Rory and Logan, like coming, you know, like moving forward.
I agree with what you said.
Me too.
Bobby said when he called him and told him about that for his about what happened on his birthday. That's exactly what he said. He said the company was waiting for somebody to make that move and to buy the stocks or whatever so that they could sue them. That's exactly what he said. So you're right. They were waiting for that, for somebody to make that mistake.
Yeah, and that happens all the time. I got sucked into doing copyright law stuff for 4 months a couple years ago, and it was awful. But there are people who or companies who will do that, trademark something, but not really file all the paperwork and kind of keep it secret and just wait for big money backs to come. So I don't blame him for that at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's the why do you think that I ask everybody to keep their volume as low as possible? I do not want big money bags coming after me. No, I'm just kidding.
I love him in Star Salon. I love how involved, how interested it was in everybody. And he loved Taylor and he loved everything that she was showing her. I love how invested it was. A little late, but after being with her for 2 years, but you know, like for a college student to get busy, maybe that's why he didn't want. And the conversation with Lorelai, and the conversation with Lorelai in the kitchen, it was great.
Yeah, me too. I love how fascinated he was with Flo and Taylor. It always makes me laugh. It's so great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame that we didn't, that it's like that 2 years in, this is the first time that he's really, it seems almost like it's the first time the character has ever even really been open to the idea of really getting to know the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, maybe it's because they were busy and, you know, he was very much into, okay, I'm going to go away with my friends and you do your thing and stuff like that. Now he was free, not working. Let's go. And he got so invested in learning everything and about meeting Luke, going to Luke's, going to Lane's, meeting the babies, everything. Like he was very invested, and I love that.
Well, the other
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, yeah, like the beginning of Logan and Rory's relationship was just so odd. Like she kept a lot of stuff from Lorelai, so we didn't get that bonding that like Dean had. But yeah, I absolutely love
Mary, all you
Logan
got to do, Mary, is just press the emoji again, and it goes away.
But yeah, I was just gonna say I love how Logan gets Stars Hollow. Like Chris just didn't. Nope.
Well, the other thing that's happening in this episode for the first time is Logan and Rory are having the conversation, I'll factor you in. And,
Yeah.
you know, it makes sense that that's the episode that Logan comes to Stars Hollow. He's factoring her in. And that hasn't happened before.
And to go off of, I don't know who was speaking before Steph, but they said that, you know, they thought that Logan was busy and not, you know, ready to like go to Stars Hollow. But I think it also probably had to do with the fact that he was completely stressed out about like his father constantly trying to send him to London and then actually succeeding sending him to London. So I think, you know, he was just so worried about his own future, because to go back to the fight that him and Rory had at the bar after they went out to dinner with Jess, you know, he felt that he only had one door and he was being pushed through it. And so I think that had to do with it too. I think he was just very stressed out about what was going on in his life, and he was so caught up in everything that he didn't have time to. And so now that he was free without his dad, you know, without having his dad under his thumb, he was finally able to focus and to really get to know where Rory grew up. And like, I think he really enjoys, you know, he's fascinated with Stars Hollow, and I think he really enjoyed being there. And it was just really fun to see.
Yeah, and you can see he was trapped, like he said on that fight. He felt very much trapped, and always made me think that lately, like, is that the way that Lorelai felt? We don't see that when he was like 16, when she felt trapped in that way that she didn't want to be. Christopher too, and he felt trapped, and the way that he reacted feeling trapped was getting drunk, doing the stunts that he did, and that's the way he reacted to feeling so trapped like he was. And now he felt like free. Okay, like you said, like I'm gonna.
I agree, Tanya. Absolutely.
Go where my girlfriend lives and take it all in and be free and have the freedom to decide what I'm gonna do, what I'm happy doing, not what they tell me that I have to do. And that's so important.
Joey, I see you flashing.
I also wonder if Rory just never would have invited him in, because how Lorelai kind of viewed Logan as being I don't know if she was always that accepting of him. Maybe she just kind of felt that way, that she just didn't. So she invited him into the Gilmore world, the senior Gilmore world, but not Lorelai.
Maybe she thought that Lorelai would judge. She probably felt that Lorelai would judge him, and she didn't know how she would handle that probably, and so maybe she just didn't ever feel comfortable inviting him to Stars Hollow until they got older and they were a lot more serious, and she just felt like, okay, it's time for him to come to Stars Hollow.
Yeah.
And
I hadn't thought of it like that. No, but I think that makes sense, and I think that's cool.
I don't see it that way. I see it that Rory has always been on the Logan roller coaster. Rory's always doing what Logan, like her, you know, her relationship with him is always kind of defined by his ups and downs. And, you know, this is the first episode where we see that he's like, no, what do you want? What do you want? You know? And so she's like, okay. I have a say, you know? And it's really interesting that their dynamic kind of shifts in this episode. She's never not been on the Logan roller coaster. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
That's an interesting take on that. I never thought.
I think
that,
I
but-
think I think that it's fair to say there might be a little bit of feeling that maybe Logan like wouldn't really be into Stars Hollow.
Yeah.
Sure.
No. What about I have about 5 more minutes. I'd love to talk about the scene in the maze.
I have just one thing to say that I never realized until this watch, but
Yeah.
Luke says, life doesn't stand still. You can't just stand still. The exact first thing that he said to her when he kissed her was, will you just stand still for a minute? And I think that's how they started their relationship.
Oh my goodness.
Colonels coming your way.
Colonels are coming to you immediately.
Um,
Wow,
you-
that is
thank you.
freaking brilliant.
Totally.
That's
It's-
brilliant.
It's like they both had to learn that that's not it's so romantic when it happens.
Oh
right?
my gosh,
But
yeah.
it's not how life
But it's
is.
not real. It's not realistic.
It's not real. Yep. And so now that they're both in the place that they know, hey, it doesn't stand still. We have to grow together. And they do have that conversation. Like, I had to do this. I had to do that. Like that is, it blew my mind when I was like, oh my God, because I haven't watched it in this kind of succession in a really long time. So I thought that was really
Does everybody know, like, just to clarify, does everybody know what Diana's referring to? Like when she mentions that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's freaking brilliant because that's so true. It's so romantic. I remember even I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so like emotional, because they both say it to each other, but they just say it in slightly a different tone of voice, They both say, will you just stand still? And then for that to be like sort of the theme of what they got wrong in this is that they needed the other one to stand still when the truth is you got to move with who you're with.
Agreed. That was brilliant, Diana.
Brilliant.
And I
Thank
think
you. Colonels will be coming.
sorry, Emma.
No, I was just saying Colonels will be coming her way. So yes, keep.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think I very briefly commented on it when we were watching, but there were quite a few callbacks in that scene. And the one that always stands out to me is Lorelai saying she should have said sorry and didn't. And it just always reminds me of when she ran back into Max and she was telling Max, I'm not good at making a call when I need to. And then time goes by and it's too long. And it's just that kind of coming back to something that she did to someone and understanding that she can see it in herself, but it's very human, the kind of repeated behavior. And it always reminds me of that as well. So I think that scene has quite a few callbacks to her behavior and things that have happened, especially like both of her fiancés. So it's just very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. She knew that she heard Matt talking, and she absolutely knew that she heard Luke. They haven't had the opportunity to like sit down late because this conversation happened earlier, but sit down. I was wrong. He was wrong too. And that's hopefully this starts like the way that we can see them as friends or like we saw them in the first started to build like some kind of friendship again, and they feel comfortable being with each other again as friends, not especially romantically right away, but we don't know.
Oh man, I'm feeling like I'm gonna probably lose this bet now about whether or not there's a romantic moment between the two of them before the end of the season, Mary.
Oh, do not lose hope. Do not lose hope.
Don't lose hope.
Don't. You never know.
And you're
It could be
starting to
anything,
feel
like I
better
said.
about Rory and Logan as well.
Oh, exactly.
I'm not feeling better about that. I'm still convinced things are too good right now, and
I get what you're saying because they're in a crossroads, like they're deciding what to do in their adult life and how we're gonna be with each other in an adult life, and our decisions are gonna impact my life, what I want to do, and all that stuff. That I get what you're scared.
And also, they're talking hypotheticals, about like what happens if I get this job and where will I live and what's the pros and cons and should I live, there's still way more that she can't possibly be expecting, that she couldn't have put onto that pro and con list, that may very well affect that. I mean, she might get offered something somewhere else in the world that requires her to actually leave and do the long distance thing. And, and then, I mean, there's just like a lot of things that there's at this stage of her life where she's moving into that chapter of adulthood. It comes with so many question marks, so many like variables, that anything can derail them right now, like anything. And that's why the fact that they're so good right now, that everything seems just so nice from like a story perspective, that makes me scared a little.
I get that.
Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
It really drives me insane that Logan kind of, in a way, he kind of convinces her to turn down that job, because I understand she wants the fellowship, but it's a really good job that she was super excited for, and she completely turns that down for something that she doesn't even know she's gonna get.
I don't think that was Logan's doing. I mean, he said that you should go for, what you really want, but she then realized, okay, this is what I really want. Like, I agree with you. I think it is a really good job, and she turned it down for something she doesn't know if she's going to get. I totally agree with you there, but I don't think it was Logan who like completely convinced her. I think she decided, I want to go for this,
She had also said it herself during the episode that when she was talking about how she got the job offer and she had to let him know by Monday, she was also talking about how she didn't really know if that's the job she really wanted, because she'd have to give up the New York Times and the other one as well. If she took that job, she'd have to give up those opportunities. So she was kind of going back and forth.
I will say, though, it is a bit uncharacteristic of Rory to take those kind of gambles, right? Like, she is typically somebody who would go for the more sure thing, and the fact that she is taking that gamble, it does seem as though at the very least he has influenced her in the sense that she's more willing to take risks. Now, the question is whether or not if that's a good thing for Rory. Like, should she be somebody who's taking more risks? I mean, one of the reasons why people loved the Logan character to begin with was that he brought this sense of, come on, like, you only live once. Like, you gotta go for the things that you really, really care about and you really, really want, even if they're really risky. And that's why we were like all so like, and Rory herself, so completely enamored by him. So is it possible that that's part of her journey, is that she needs to learn how to take take risks a bit more? I don't know. I mean, is that healthy to be able to take some degree of risk in our lives?
Is that him though, as much as her just starting to feel confident in her abilities and her prospects and opportunities?
I do think that people help bring the best out, like bring things out of you. And I think that having him in her life has, at the very least, like influenced her in that way.
But she's like she was already kind of talking about not taking that job. It was just happened to be the first one she had gone out for and the first one that came back in. And I think even though Mitchum was he didn't totally tell her that she was better than he thought she was, I think even some of the things that he said to her made her feel more confident in herself in a strange way. But I think she's just more confident in her writing, and she got all these interviews. She's been doing the online thing, and I think she just is willing to take more of a gamble than she would have been even a year or two ago, just because she's more confident in herself. Whether that's because of Logan or Lorelai or anybody else, that doesn't really matter. It's just she's young. She has opportunities.
MJ, do you feel like Rory should be taking more risks in life?
Not to the effect of, like, I think risks are good, but not major risks. Like, I think it would be different if she, in a way, if she had two choices to choose from and she chooses, that, but the very fact that she doesn't even have that choice right now and she's turning down something that she has, I think that's closing doors for her.
But taking it closes doors as well. And that's the point
sorry,
of
go
that.
on.
I was gonna say taking that job closes the doors as well on other things. And that was the point of her discussing it back and forth with them. Because if she takes that job, then she is locked into something and it takes away the opportunity of the ones that she's still waiting on to even get to that point. She's waiting to hear back from that fellowship that she wants. She's waiting to hear back from the New York Times or to go interview or whatever it is she was doing with that. So it's like either way she's closing a door. It's
What if-
just, do I close one door or do I close 4 doors?
It's sort of hard. Like in hindsight's always 2020. At this point, we don't know. Like that fellowship could turn out to open up her life in a way that like she could never have dreamed of with the other job. And then we'd be saying like, man, that was amazing foresight on her part, that she intuitively knew that she could get it, that she believed in herself and probably worked hard in order to get it, etc. Right? If it turns out that her life ends up being sort of a flop, we could potentially look back at this fellowship and be like, that was a real mistake. Had she gone the other route, her life would be closer to the one that she'd always said she wanted.
My question though is if she takes this job, I don't see how she's closing other doors, because she would still have a chance at getting the fellowship and then she could turn it down later because she would have more options.
Not if she
think
has to
she
tell them by
said-
Monday.
I think
I
she
mean,
says
she
if
has
she
to tell them
takes
by
the
Monday.
job-
That's
Sorry,
yeah.
go on, Chris.
It hurts you when you're young if you take a job and then you say 2 weeks later after you've accepted, you take it and something else comes along and you say, oh, by the way, I'm not going to work here anymore because this other thing came up that I had been waiting for. And then you're telling that company, I took your job as a backup, but I was always planning to leave if something else came along.
I will say though, Chris, that actually happens a ton out
I
here.
know,
Like
but it's not good.
I've seen so many people climb the ladder of success by doing that, by like jumping, like being at a company for like a month, and then getting a better offer somewhere else and going there and then leaving that place for a better offer. And it does seem, at least in the US, that that kind of ladder climbing in the corporate world is actually like it favors that behavior. Just as playing a devil's advocate.
But I do think it's bad in certain fields. I think that would be a really bad way to go.
Yeah,
though.
in journalism, you might have to sign a contract, and so like that might be the one thing that doesn't allow her to do that.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
That's
she
interesting.
does say if she takes the job, then she automatically takes herself out of the running for the fellowship. So there is some conflict there. Yeah.
I always
Yeah,
felt
and
like
that's
take
what I
the
meant.
job.
It can be really bad for you if you're doing that at a young age, in certain kinds of fields. I should have probably specified that, because I get what you're saying, John. Corporate worlds, like the one that I work in, people do that all the time.
I mean, it's
But-
almost it's like a little infuriating because it's like loyalty. You start to wonder like if loyalty is even valuable in certain parts of the corporate world, and that you see, or failing upwards. That's another one that you're like, how is this in any way helpful to a company? I actually have to jump.